Well, y'all, it is episode 3 of season 4. Welcome back. What's that song? Welcome back. I don't know the beat, but you know the song I'm talking about. I'm excited for y'all to listen to this episode because it kind of interweaves both how we see power in a spiritual sense, but then also how we see it kind of in what my people call the mundane world, just the regular day to day, and how they are not always separate. You'll hear from people across different diasporas, which is really dope, talking about how they and their cultural lineages see power. So I hope you enjoy this episode. All right, y'all. Welcome to episode 3 of season 4 of the Sunseed Community Podcast. I'm so excited to have 3 magical, pleasure-giving, bringing beings with me in this space this evening. At least it's evening in my time zone. Welcome Joshua Young, Tiff Lynn, and Goddexx. So how we usually start the podcast is just with a check-in question to kind of like slowly tiptoe into asking questions and getting to know each other. And the check-in question for this season is, who are you bringing into the space with you today? And anyone feel free to answer at any time.
I think that for me, I'm bringing any and everyone who has shown love, anyone who has held my cheeks and said, anyone who loves me currently, they are here with me.
I love that. And when you said cheeks, I didn't think of your face. Cheeks.
It's both. Left cheek, right cheek.
All of it. Still very tender and precious, no matter the cheek. Thank you, Joshua.
Initially, the first being who came to mind for me was my abuelita Rosa from Peru, who I wasn't very close to, but I am just coming back from an ancestral trip from Peru, and she was my main guide there, wanting to really support me and care for me and just show me the love that she didn't, because she was like the stern grandma when I remember her meeting her. Like, my Cuban grandmother was very like loving and kind of like what you're talking about, like giving the kisses on the cheeks, not those cheeks that you might be thinking about, but the other ones. This grandma was not like that. She was very much like, her face was always very stern, so I was really scared of her. But I guess, when ancestors cross over, like, they sometimes learn new lessons and they want to support you in ways that they couldn't. So that's who I'm calling in today.
Thank you so much, Goddexx. Shout out to Abuelita.
Woo! Wow. This is Tiff Lynn. I am bringing in the energy of excitement. Just really letting the part in me that, giving the part of me that needs to know and control things like a break, and then bringing in the entity of excitement and trickster and mischievous one, and the energy of a little bit of a joint I had an hour ago that I could still feel in this space of just us talking and having a casual conversation about power, which brings up a lot for me in my system, and also a lot for my ancestors who are backing me, and also seeing how, it's a challenging conversation when you're looking at thousands and thousands of years of repressed, but also the traditional like filial piety conversation. It's like how can we access internal power for ourselves despite that collectivist mindset. So a lot of stuff. I have no idea what I'm going to say. Just really excited to be here.
I like that. I like that you don't know what you're gonna say. That's the yeah, same, to be honest with you. Thank you so much, Tiff. Yeah, just listening to y'all and feeling into what has been the past couple weeks. I also am calling in ancestors that are still like they actively know that there was much that they did not know. But what they did know and all the love they have left in them to give to me, they're bringing it. I'm calling them in, and I feel that they are already here. And just redefining what power is, I feel like is such a gift that I'm able to do in this lifetime. But I could not do it without the lessons of my ancestors and what power should and shouldn't be, and how not and how to wield it. So yeah, that's definitely the lessons of my ancestors and yeah, the ancestors that are ready to do that work. I'm definitely bringing them in. Not bringing in cannabis ancestor, but I am so happy you are bringing them in.
Right.
Thank you.
It's the vibe. It
Third
is the
time
vibe.
on here, I just had to experiment a little.
Oh my gosh. I did one episode where I was pretty high and I told them before I did the episode, it was the episode with Phoenix, Rain, and Poppy, who are like my favorite porn stars. It's like, I'm high for this episode. It was beautiful. I cried. It was great. So I feel you. I feel you. Okay, let's get into these questions, y'all. So the first one is, how did you come into understanding your own power? I love the look on some of y'all's faces.
Okay, I can go. I think a vivid memory for me was like my sophomore year of college. I was not studying abroad. No, this was like a work, not a work. Regardless of what it was, my school had us go to Buenos Aires, Argentina, for like a short stint, and I was at a club. Just I think something came to life inside my body, where like this was like a space where I felt really comfortable being myself and exploring like expression through dance and movement and like just joy. And I really I felt like my power, or my sense of power, came when I was able to just like catch the ghost in a dance space for the first time, if you all know that expression, and just come out like fully like unleashed, you know what I mean? So yeah, just wanted to share that moment. It was really great.
I want to see you in one of those moments. Catching
Oh
the
my
ghost.
God, it was so
Yes,
good.
catching that spirit.
It
Yes.
was so good.
Thank you, Tiff.
So this is Joshua. And I think I want to first say that I continue to grow in my power. I have a lot of moments where life is happening and I stand in that power, and then sometimes I need to rest. And so I just kind of move in and out of it, as best I can. And I think that like the moment of stepping into it for the first time, I don't think I have a like pinpoint. It was then, but I think I realized that it was happening when I decided that I could start loving people in my own way. No one, it wasn't like, okay, when you walk into the room, say hello to everyone. It was like, I decided like I can make this decision on how I love and how much I give love to anyone around me. And that's where I stepped into it. Who knows how old I was?
I love that. I love how you talk about power not being like this fixed thing. How it kind of ebbs and flows, and how you can connect or kind of move away from it, or even like interact with it differently at different times in your life. Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, I love that. I love the fluidity in it all. And as you asked that question, I was also trying to pinpoint one moment. The first word that came was just like, I found my power through sex or through crying, temper tantrums when I was little, because I could manipulate my parents to do something to shut me up, but I was like, that's not power. Come on, like reel it in, reel it in. I mean, it is power. It is a form of power, right? But I was trying to go deeper with the question, and what came to my heart and spirit was that power is the choices that I have in any moment. Like, even when it seems like I'm powerless, I still have a choice. The smallest choice can be there. So it's like changing my perspective is power. A poem came to mind that I wrote that I did perform. When you saw me, the last line is, my love is limitless, but my energy is not. So like putting limits to our energy and the choice of how we choose to distribute that in any moment. So, and then I also thought of a memory of me when I first started to exercise. So something physical. I thought a lot of physical things, I guess, but I was thinking about when I first started to exercise and run, and I was like the slowest person, the slowest girl at the time. And I just was like, I'm not going to push myself to try to go fast like all these other people. Like, I'm just going to pace myself. And in that pacing, I ended up being on varsity. So I feel like it's just a great analogy, because I think power is within your own pacing. So that was one moment that I really recognized that I had powers. Like, I don't have to follow the rules that everyone's doing. Like, I can just like go in my own pace.
Yeah.
I think that speaks to like quite a few people in the room. Like, just like what you said about pacing and just yeah. I'm still sitting with that. I too don't think I have like one particular moment. Like, I feel like the relationship with my power is like any other relationship, is it's like growing over time, it changes over time. I do remember being little though, and I think the memories that come to mind are like when power was being taken away from me, where I felt like a semblance of power in different ways, like being little and get my ass beat, to be quite honest.
Yeah.
And like crying, but then like playing with like the shapes of the walls and the doors, and like soothing myself and like self-soothing, and like moments of like reclaiming my own space, and realizing like I don't have to agree to this moment. I don't have to agree to participate in the way that like this person or these beings want me to participate, and coming up with something else that is authentically me in that moment. But over time, as I've gotten older, those moments feel less like just moments and more just like where I'm just constantly at. Not saying that I'm always feel like this big powerful person who can like just say fuck you just anymore. No. But I feel like I'm like leaning back into the throne of who I am. Like, this is just who I am. This is me. I'm gonna speak my truth. Sometimes I have to, most of the times I'm speaking my truth just to myself.
Right.
Like, I have to tell my own self my truth. But that feels like power to me. And that in itself, I feel like is a gift, because this world, like, not this world, I'm not going to put this on the world, but society's like, it's all about disembodiment. It's all about disembodiment and not seeing that. So I feel what y'all are saying. So calling in, like, who we brought into the space with us, thinking about our loved ones, our ancestors, our lineages. What are some of the ways your lineages describe power?
I feel like this is a really interesting question because I don't know, everyone, like in my family, there are many people who believe many things. And so there's no like one pinpoint for what the description is. But I think it all kind of has the same messaging, which is just like whatever I'm doing, it is to be within myself. It is for me to figure out life and how I respond to life. And so, yeah, if I can think of like a pinpoint, like this is kind of where we've gone or where we've come from, then I'll definitely share that.
Yeah, as you finished what you were saying, Goddess, about disembodiment, and then asked a question, what came to my spirit was how I've been so cut off by my lineages, both on my Peruvian and Cuban side, and they're very mixed. So I'm like, I don't know what was power to them. Some of my ancestors overtook my indigenous ancestors and like treated my African ancestors like shit, and there's so much conflict within my like body that I feel all the time. And then maybe that's why a lot of my life I haven't wanted to face like certain traumas and pain because it's so overwhelming, and that's why I fell into addictions in the past and all that. And then I was thinking about, oh yeah, like a big influence that in my immediate family that like folks look to power is God. That God, that big white God in the sky, whenever Father.
I know her.
So I'm like, oh yeah, like that's what power was, because it's like so much power was taken away that like we'll just pray. We'll like, pray to God and hope that something better will come from that. So, there is a deep connection in my lineage to, God or a spiritual beings that will support, and that's like where the power is. And I think for my story, and as I move forward, it's all about reclaiming that and like figuring out what is my spirituality without that religious influence anymore, and like just creating something completely new and fluid with it all. So yeah, power has definitely been tied to the religious piece, which is tied to the violence that so many of our ancestors have faced, especially with dominant religions like Christianity and such, right?
Yeah. When you said I know her,
I'm just saying, like, all right.
Right.
She just pulls up, like, I mean, any gathering, she shows up. So.
Yes, Goddexx, we feel you so hard on that one. Yeah. We're gonna circle back to that whole idea. We gotta circle back.
Yeah, I'm really like just moved by all these shares because I also was initially stumped at this question, particularly around the sensitivity of bringing lineages and feeling very removed from lineage all my life due to assimilation and our dominant culture of white supremacy. But I feel if I were to tap into how my parents have viewed power, I see it as really a sign of like, for me, when I feel like they're in their power is when they're in their most generous states of like sharing food to our family, sharing like, having everyone come together. When we were growing up as children, we had like a couple close families come over to celebrate like big holidays. And there's this association of like power as being successful in some way, of like having their own gifts shine to create a business and to then generate opportunities for so many people in our little community. And I think that's something that I'm also feeling and listening into, is like, how can power come from the spirit, come from your soul gift, your essence, Jing, your qi, your life force, the shen, the spirit. How can that all mind, body, soul come together for you to feel like you're at a full cup and you just want to give to the world, and that it's not just yours alone. Yeah, I feel like I'm just exploring that right now with those three concepts I said of Jing, Qi, Shen, which are the three treasures in Chinese medicine, and wanting to unpack what all of that is. Yeah, I'll just end there.
Um,
Bam,
I
we
wanted
can
to
help
add
you unpack
something
that
too.
suitcase. Sorry, Josh, you'll go
Oh,
ahead.
no, you're good. I was just thinking about something too. I think that in my family, power is like the oldest mother,
Whoa,
right?
yeah.
It's like grandma, and it like goes back. So it's like grandma, and then it was her mom, and then her mom. And it feels like from some point, or like the point where people remember, like that is the stopping point or the starting point for power. And so whatever they thought, whatever they felt, like transferred over and over and over and over again, each time kind of getting diluted, right?
Sure.
Like society is doing its thing. So like we can't hold on to that piece. And I think it just continued in that way. And I think it's still going. I don't think it's ever going to stop.
Mm, mm, that's a word. Mm, yeah, I agree with all that y'all have said. There's pieces of what each of you has said and like my own lineage, like just like how my own people have described power. I think in my most recent bloodline, power has been very imbalanced. Like there have been people who um really use their physical power and their what they saw as mental power to and like social capital to take away power from other people.
Mm.
And then there's been people in my family growing up in a cult where like people agreed to their power being taken from them and put in the hands of predominantly
Mm.
white men who were serving a white god. That guy that Goddexx spoke about. Um but then in those same people, I would say specifically like with my mom, I saw power in like how she had us like never like she always showed us through action and through her words. Sometimes it's convoluted. I talk to my mom about this, like that you are always like worthy and you keep your head up, and if you believe something is just and right, you fight for that.
Mm.
Even if it's with your teachers. Even if it's with like you hold fast to that. So yeah, power has shown up in very different ways in my life. And there's definitely ways in which I feel like it is authentic power, like that life force that you talked about, Tiff, which like I want to segue into, where it's sourced from our life source. And then this like illusion of power that's really rooted in like whiteness, capitalism, patriarchy, that kind has just like ran rampant and like done so much damage. But speaking particularly of the life force, when we think about life force, like what does that mean to y'all? How do you describe it? Is there a particular word that your loved ones use?
Well, when you originally said life force, I thought pleasure and like
Mm,
how power is connected to pleasure. And I know we're all connected in that way here. And, you know, just thinking about like personally, but also like ancestrally and like just with my identities and all that, like I could feel so powerless sometimes, right? But then I can have a small moment that I play with my gender, I put on some lingerie, I dance it out, I feel more embodied. So like, that embodiment, that expression, that essence helps me feel powerful again, and like I've reclaimed myself in a way, right? So life force, I feel like what comes to mind is pleasure, which is an expression that that is fluid and can shift, whether through my gender or like sex or art or creation, just like full on creation. That's what's really like present for me, and really just exploring that, been exploring that, am exploring that, will continue to explore that both personally and professionally, because we fucking need more pleasure and joy in our lives, especially as like for folks who can feel so powerless sometimes, right?
I'll shade to that. Yeah.
I was thinking immediately when you said that, I was thinking about my family, and most of them are Christians. And so it's like the Holy Spirit, like that is power. And I've had many experiences where like we've gone to church, I've tried to like hear it, I've tried to understand it, I've tried to feel it, and I never have. And I'm not sure if they just say that they have, or like if they have actually felt it. But I've never felt it. And I think that because I've never felt it before, like it seemed as though I did not have the power to. And it seemed as though I was kind of in the spot where I was powerless. I was very small. And now it's like I have to be in search of my version of Holy Spirit. Like, what does that feel like for me? How does it feel in my body? What does it communicate to me? And I think I'm still learning that. It can be in a word, it can be in pleasure. I think it can show up anywhere. And so I haven't quite identified where that power is, or what it looks like. But I create opportunities, and continue to create opportunities to be in it.
Yeah. Oh, wow. I think one thing that you had said, Joshua, that really I felt was like how you were in that environment and you couldn't feel, right? You couldn't feel the thing that everyone's cognitively, intellectually talking about and, putting the word faith upon. And yeah, I don't know if this is just me talking off of the question. The original question, I believe, was what is life force energy? I feel like that's also tied towards like just knowing what your truth is and knowing how to feel truth in your body. Like all signs are a go, like your heart feels it, your mind feels it, your spirit, your genitals. It's like, yeah, I'm turned on. I'm a full yes. Occupy this to sex too. Is like, yep, my body isn't lying. It's on. It's on for business, And if we can just equate that to life and the decisions we're forced to make, the people that we're forced to, or not forced, but the people we come across. For me, I feel like being in my culture, collectivist culture, I've had to like really reprogram that people-pleasing mindset. And it's still very hard for me, especially with partnership, like wanting love, wanting to feel love, knowing that I hadn't felt that the type of love that I know is possible that exists in this world because of my own parents' trauma, but also like trying to rewire and figure out what that is for myself, what unconditional love is. And so, yeah, I feel to tie life force energy with love, with vulnerability, with truth. There's probably a whole map here of many different things, but embodiment is really at the epicenter of that. And finding that sacral connection to life force energy with creative energy, with eros, I feel is why we're fascinated with talking about pleasure and why it's so important. Yeah.
Can you share this map?
It's in my head.
Write it out and share it.
Yes, please, Charles.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out where to kind of begin what I'm trying to say. So, Joshua, when you were talking about Holy Spirit and like redefining it, I had like pictured you like arms wide, face turned up, like so much joy, and like all of your life force, all the like the power, the energy coming, like moving through you was from you.
Yeah.
Like it was just being sent out and like communing with like the greater, the whole, great spirit.
Mhm.
And as you were talking, Tiff, and like this even speaks to what you were saying. Like when I first was thinking about this particular episode, I was thinking about like energy, like chi, ashe, like life force. And then kind of as the episode started to move along, it kind of shifted and changed, but it came back to it of just like this life force, it being inherently us. Like it's like at the very core of our DNA and who we are and how we came to be. But like when I feel most connected to it is when it is that full body yes. When I
Mhm.
am creating, when I'm dancing, when no one's looking. It's usually when no one's looking. Yeah, like when I can fully have my arms open and my face turned up
Mhm.
and not give a fuck and just like have this channeling of the energy that is inherently a part of me and commune it with the greater whole. And thinking about what you said about Tiff about like community and how to kind of turn your passion and that power that you inherently have to to benefit the whole, and your loved ones. That feels like the purest form, or like the purest channeling of that. And it feels like it would be even like so abundant, it's like not depleting. Yeah, I don't know, what are your thoughts?
You were having your moment. Like, live in that power.
Go off.
Like
Yeah, no, I like the term just inner abundance as another way of saying power.
I'm thinking kind of like, okay, so we have inner abundance. How would you say y'all's like that life force, how does it kind of flow for you? Like Goddexx, you talked about in your creativity and sex and pleasure. How does it flow for y'all? What does it look like these days?
I think the flowing shifts because it's like a river and it's fluid, and sometimes it's like it's hitting jagged rocks, and sometimes there's no rocks and it's just going smooth, and sometimes it hits the waterfall and goes crashing down. So I think it's really fluid. But the word surrender came to mind, like surrendering to the moment. And I feel that the most when I'm just like, I'm just going to be completely present in this moment. I feel that when I perform poetry and I just like put on like my blue bodysuit, my royal blue bodysuit, I'm like, I'm a butterfly and I'm just going to like share and express and just be. I feel it when I'm playing with someone, or like I just did my first adult film and that was really exhilarating. And well, not just did it, it's almost a year ago, but it just feels like just yesterday because I was so in the moment.
Yeah.
And, like that, just surrendering to the moment, even if you've like knew it was coming and you've planned for it. Like I think about that in performance, whether that's the adult entertainment or poetry. And it's like, okay, it was scheduled. I knew this moment was coming. Things are planned, negotiations have been made, or I've picked out the poems that are going to do it, blah, blah, right? But I'm just going to surrender and let it flow now, right? So I think like surrender, balance, and balance shifts, which within each moment, just like that river I'm saying, and the fluidity and what's to come in the journey. That's how I access it. That's like a really simple, I guess, poetic way of saying it, but that's what came to mind.
Yes. So for Tiff's map, we're also gonna have a picture of you in your one piece. Like that's you're gonna be the
Blue butterfly
Right.
transformation.
yes. I live for that one piece every time. I'm like, get it,
Oh my God.
get it.
I really feel like a butterfly in that blue one piece. For the book release, I had this beautiful blue dress, like gorgeous on, but I was just like, now I gotta be free. Like I gotta be free. Don't wait on me.
It was iconic. It is iconic.
Thank
Iconic.
you.
And congratulations on the release. I'm gonna talk to you about that later. I wanna see. Anyway, okay, sorry, yo. Back to the podcast at hand.
So I'm gonna take it from like a Bazi Chinese astrology perspective to share about my own natural rhythms through the animals that are within my chart, which is the Yang Earth Dragon. So Yang Earth being like the mountain, very stable, reliable, steady, but kind of very slow to move in the sense that like slow to start, but once it goes, it'll just keep going and going and going. It just needs to be rooted in that why and that purpose. Totally like if it, my bouts of depression comes when I'm not attached, I'm not feeling purposeful or have like a project I'm working on. So yeah, and that's one piece. And then I also have this yin wood ox, which is very like conservative, needing to know what is the next step to take. So those kind of butt forces, because the dragon's really also explosive and risk takey. So what my energy, no one can see this because this is a podcast, but I'm like, these are really interesting waves I experience, like big sprints. That could look like doing like a performance, to leading a thing, to organizing your retreat and creating something entirely new within 2 months, to like me passing out for the next 2-3 months and feeling like quivering in self-doubt, like who am I? But like also my body just needs to rest a lot for the next cycle. So I don't know. My chi is I'm constantly trying to understand it. I'm trying to be gentle with myself. Yeah. There's also a young fire tiger that like actually, needs a lot of rest in order to go like hunt for the next thing. And so I'm learning about what that is for me so I can just have fun in the process versus be so goal oriented. Okay, that's thank you for listening.
Yes. I'm like seeing how like one helps the other get to the next part of the cycle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think the question for me, like in my mind, it's shifted just a little bit. Instead of like, how does it flow? I've been thinking about where it flows from. And this changes, like I was saying earlier, like I step in, I step out. And so currently, this is flowing through my perspective, right? So through my eyes, I am seeing, and this is how I'm identifying like what is power and what is not, and what is pretending to be power. And the second thing right now is like in my hands, like it is like the active doing of something, the active feeling of something, that is where it's flowing from. Like this is where it is, this is what it feels like. And I expect that to change. I'm like, it's not gonna be this, full time because like you said, Tiff, like there's rest that's needed, right? And I cannot put a strain on like, this is it. This is your job for the rest of my life. Like there has to be opportunities to rest those things and then trust that the other things also are just as important and also have the same amount of power, if not more. Like, who knows?
Yes. Yes. When you talk about the act of like in your feeling in your hands, that changing, that like power to change. I'm so Ashe, shout out, Yoruba, thank you for the wisdom. My understanding of Ashe is it's the like it's our life force to make things happen. Like it runs through all of us. And I use that term like that word a lot, but I feel like in the last couple of months, the word doesn't quite encapsulate all of what the life force is.
Yeah.
And that could also just be because of my like the ways in which I understand the word. But like when I think of how power flows, it feels so great and so immense that it's like constantly creating and dying and creating and dying. And I'm like, this life force is God. Like for me, it's God, like Goddess, like it is great spirit. And so when I think of how it flows, the first thing that comes to mind, kind of similar to what you were saying, Joshua, is like and also you tip like when it's not flowing, and like noticing when it's not flowing, when it is flowing, and how when it's not flowing, I'm usually fighting against my own current, like
Mm,
fighting against my own ashe. I know how my spirit, my body is meant to express itself on this earth. And when I
mhm.
fight against that, there's just a whole bunch of struggle. And it's just so blocked. But when I'm in line with it, and I listen to my intuition, and I also honor the wisdom of my ancestors, and also understand that I am an ancestor and will be an elder, like
Mm,
I honor my own power, that's when it really feels like I have this abundance of it.
yeah.
The channel is open. That's like the best way I can think about the flow of it.
Yeah, there's something interesting that you were saying about like ashe, right? And how we use it when we feel as though like we are in power or that our action has power behind it. One of the things about Ifa, where this, word comes from, where this idea comes from, is that first off, it's misunderstood, right? It's misinterpreted from the jump. And a lot of people think that like it is always just good. Like you can only use this when good things are happening, only use this when like you feel good and when things are going your way. And the practice itself is not actually a practice, it's philosophy. And so one of the things that people kind of don't understand is that it is expansion and contraction, right? So when it's expanded, like this is where like all it, all the power is, where you feel everything. And then that contraction is like where you feel as though it is just you. This is like reflective. And I think that when people are in that space, they decide there's no more power. And so like Ashe can be used in both ways. And I think just like everything else, we have to teach ourselves how to like still be in appreciation, how to still know that even rest is power. Um, and yeah, it takes time. So try that. Like try that. When you feel out of power, then try to still be like, I got something. I'm resting, but I have something. And what I have now will expand and I will bring more in each time.
Yes, yes, yes. What you're saying, like I'm getting an image in my head, and like going back to what Goddexx, what you said around surrender. And then also about like community with Tiff, like when we feel like when there is a surrendering into the whole, to the flow of Ashe, to the flow of that inherent energy, that's when we feel the most powerful because we're more receptive to it, right? Like there's always a flow. But then yes, when we feel less powerful, we also feel cut off from community, we feel alone, and there isn't as much flow. So that surrendering, even though sometimes it can be very scary, is so integral to reclaiming what is already there to be ours because it's a part of us.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just buzzing with all this beautiful and energy that y'all like have been just speaking through right now and flowing with. Yeah, because my Baba has taught me a lot about Ashe, but y'all have like just blowing me away right now. But as you were both speaking, I was just feeling into, and it was just being affirmed, like that energy of when, like, the resistance to being with uncomfortability or when things don't feel good, right? And then it's like, oh, that I'm not powerful anymore, but that's part of the phase. So then it made me think of my book with Butterfly, like the phases: release, renewal, retreat, rebirth, outlines how these energies flow. And in retreat, it's all about surrender to rest and surrender to death, physical and not physical, like spiritual deaths that have to be undergone so you can let go what doesn't serve you anymore, what you've outgrown, so you can continue to evolve.
Mm.
So I was just really feeling into that because, yeah, like you said, goddess surrender can feel so good when it's like the it's like the great stuff. Yeah, I'm with it. But then when it's just like everything feels stagnant and you don't know what else to do, or there's no more actions to take, all you have to do is surrender. Like that can feel really powerless to people. I know it does for me, but that's the most powerful thing you can do, and trust and have that faith that there will be an opening. There will be spaciousness once you accept and surrender into those not so great feelings. The feeling of stagnancy, it's like helps it like reignite and transmute, right? So I'm just really grateful to hear what you both said, because it's like reminding me of that power and surrender, especially when things don't feel good, and the uncomfortability and the just the need for more presence and that acceptance. And sometimes when you surrender to that shit, like it transmutes really quickly. Like I don't know about
Yeah.
your experience, but for me, like when I'm like, I'm just gonna like I fucking give up, I surrender, all right, whatever. Then it like literally like a few days later, the next week, whatever it was that needed to move, moves. And I'm just like, are you serious? Like that's all I had to do?
Mhm. Have y'all like ever been in a place where you know that it's going to take the surrender, it's going to take you stepping into like you reaccessing this power, this life force is going to take you surrendering and opening up in a way that you're not used to, but you know that you can do, and you just like decided I choose not to do this in this moment. Like in this moment, I need to be in this just a little bit longer. Like, let me have my temper tantrum.
Yeah.
Have y'all ever felt that?
Mm. All the time, I think.
Oh my God.
All the time, yeah. Um, like not only is that rest for me, but that is also like a healing time. Like I got there for some reason, and it probably wasn't like a good reason. Like I wasn't like, let me just go here. I was like ushered into that because of some experience. And so in that space for me, it's like, I'm gonna be here resting. Um, and I'm going to be in like healing in this space. And so when I feel like that process is done, then like the doors open up for me to be like, and I'm back.
Back Bishop. Wellness.
Right. It is kind of like sickness, right? Where like you are sick, you do not feel well, and then you go to bed. You lay down, you're not up doing all the stuff you were doing. You sit your ass down somewhere. And then when you feel better, you get back to it, right? Whatever it is you need to do. Maybe making some changes. Maybe you wash your hands a little bit more. Maybe you wear that mask that you're supposed to be wearing. Like, whatever it is, like you know now what you need to be doing to protect yourself from getting back into that space.
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up, like slowing down. Yeah, slowing down to actually listen to what the body wants in the moment, I think is such a strong access point or tool to finding internal power and resilience. And yeah, and like sometimes I'm like, well, my body really needs to stretch, you know? Like I think if I just stretch and like clear out the stuff in my chest that is making me so humped over and powerless or heavy because of whatever got brought up in the moment, I can like move my body to shake it out a little bit and feel whatever my center is. Yeah. So just wanting to emphasize the power of slowing down to actually listen is definitely a great tool.
Yeah, okay, so we are almost at like the close of this, but I wanted to ask y'all one last question in regard to this beautiful conversation. So, what do you do to fill your own cup and recharge?
I think that more often than I have in the past, I've been receiving love. I think that naturally, as like someone who has been raised by women, like I was taught to be like, you give this to people. Um, and this is the way in which you will always be accepted. And so it's like now I have community, right? And everyone identifies in however they want to. And they show up in the space. giving what they have, what they're willing to give. And like right now, my cup is like, I don't have the energy to pour into it. And I need Bae to pour into it. I need mom, I need grandma, I need whoever is willing to remind me that I have power and that it will come back if I feel like it is not here now. That's what's doing it. And like sex and video games and TV and like masturbation, like what those things also. But yeah, I mean, it is the big picture is like everything is a form of me saying I need love, and that's my cup is full, and I'm pouring into everyone else now.
Yes, full and runneth over. Yes.
Yeah, when you gotta lick it on the sides because it's like pouring out.
Oh, wait.
It's like spilling out. You're like, hold up, I gotta get all of it because
yes,
it's that good.
The imagery, loving it.
I'm like trying to figure out what I do to fill my own cup, and it's a lot of things, but I'm like, what is like the thread that ties it all together? And I think what is coming to mind is pausing. Like pausing helps me fill up my cup because I can be an overthinker sometimes. So if I'm like, I'm going to give this a break. So I guess it's tied to like that stillness, right? And like the rest, it's like, I'm going to give this a break. I'm going to give this a rest and just assign my time and energy to something else. Kind of like the poem I mentioned earlier, like my love is limitless, but my energy is not. So if I like keep focusing with my love and my energy in this thing, and I was just going into this overthinking brain, it's not filling me anymore. So the most like loving thing I can do for myself is take a pause, take a rest, take a break. And that can look like, sitting by the river, meditation. Sometimes it's not meditation because then I'll just continue my overthinking brain.
Right.
Sometimes it's sex, sometimes it's, writing. It could be so many things, but like I think the dread is just pausing. That's how I fill up my cup continuously and like slowing down when I notice that like I have less to give.
love it. Yeah, I'm just seeing how we can view rest in so many ways. Like sometimes rest for me looks like binge watching a Netflix series. It's most likely a high school coming of age drama, like Never Have I Ever or something. Or it could look like going out to the dance floors and just getting into a cipher and being like, what happened after? I feel really full after, regardless how much I've slept, just being able to release some charge. So yeah, dancing, stretching. Something I recently got into was singing karaoke, like not even going to a karaoke place, but just like YouTubing karaoke, like singing and dancing with friends. A lot of classics, But yeah, definitely anything that feels like I can discharge all the stuff that I've held onto, that I am slowly with therapy and healing and just my own support system releasing, but definitely something for me that reminds me of who I am and the different multitudes I possess. So yeah, fun.
Shout out to that like discharging of things. Like that's what it feels like. Yeah, like I need to get this off my chest. It's off my chest. Yeah, I think for me, I honestly enjoy my solitude. Like I need, like, if I see 2 people in a day, the rest of the day is mine. It doesn't even have to be physically seeing a person. We could be talking on the phone, and be like, oh well, I'm done. I also really love watching cartoons and like kid shows. Like I've been binge watching Arthur, and DW is giving me life.
DW.
Yeah.
DW is, man, she go hard in the paint. So yeah, things like that like just like feeding my inner child,
Mm.
just laughing, j yeah, things that make me feel silly, that remind me like, hey, gee, you can be silly. Like, don't forget that. Feel so important. Um, mm, Thank you, y'all, for all the wisdom y'all have shared, all the people that you have brought into this space. Okay, so it's time. Like, how do we get a hold of y'all? Where can we find y'all? What y'all be up to?
Well, you can find me at I am Goddexx with two D's and two X's on IG. And currently, I am taking life coaching clients. I have a 3-month container and I support people through a variety of transitions in their life. Um, Usually, it's folks who are wanting to come deeper into their purpose and also things like their confidence or gender or sexuality, spirituality. So it's like, it's so fluid. That's why it's full spectrum. But like one client I'm supporting with confidence, coming into adult entertainment. Another client I'm supporting with their next step in the entertainment industry. They're starting to really get known and they're needing to learn more about energetic protection. And then my other client is transitioning out from one career to another. So the theme like of my support with people is transition in life towards more pleasure and abundance and prosperity. And I also perform poetry. And if anyone is at a college or university, feel free to reach out to me to come through.
Yes. Where can we get your book at? Like your
That's in my
book.
website. I am Goddexx at iamgoddexx.com. The same thing, two D's, two X's. Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you.
Okay, so I have just launched a nonprofit. It is dedicated to education and eroticism. Um, you can find that at afroeroticbody.org. And in that space, you can poke around and see what's happening, see what it is that we need, and then sign up to get more information. Like as we continue to develop, as we continue to have offerings, those are for you. Like we are working so you have those things. Contact pages there. Like I receive the emails on my phone and I say, what's up to people? Like it is a thing. Like you are not just, dropping in a message like, I'm here, I'm talking to you. This is the thing that I love. I do it like while I'm working. Like that's I mean like on my phone doing emails while I'm supposed to be working, but I'm doing the work either way.
Yes, I'm so excited for this. Like, I'm so ready. I'm so ready. And also, shout out to you. Thank you so much for being one of the facilitators for House of Olokun through Acorn. Like,
Yeah, thank
I'm about
you.
to be blessed. Just be blessed by
Right.
you.
Okay, so I checked out your website, Joshua. I love it.
That was
I love
fast.
it. So nice. It's so cute.
Thank
And followed you,
you.
Goddess. Oh my. So thank you so much, Goddess, for just connecting us all together. I just want to say that my heart is like really full right now. You can find me at my Instagram is tiffrexrei, TIFFREXREI. And my website is tiffanylin.co. And yeah, for a while now, my main offering, main gig, main passion is helping people navigate their unique gifts, their unique essence and blueprint through the lens of Chinese astrology, Bazi. And yeah, I've been working at a beautiful tea shop in Berkeley. If anyone's listening is in that like East Bay area, you can definitely have an in-person session with me, or I do online virtual readings as well. And that comes with the embodiment coaching. How do you actually really fully integrate the lessons that all of the 5 elements and the 12 animals have to share as far as how you navigate life and your reality and how you self-motivate yourself? What are kind of the tools you can use to really fully feel your natural pace, even with, the craziness of what the world is going through. So yeah, just different containers that are kind of like a case by case assessment for what you're going through and what your goals and desires are. And at the moment, there's no performance art things that I'm like attaching myself to yet, but I'm very inspired by everyone here and like feeling called to do something again, just like create something from nothing. Yeah, thank you all.
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, so I didn't realize that you were also like working at the tea shop because I
Yeah.
knew that you were doing stuff. Like, oh, okay. I would love to come get tea
Oh my God.
and work with you. That
Right.
just sounds wonderful. Ah, absolutely wonderful. All right, y'all. Well, it's time to say goodbye. But
No.
before we go, what is your heart carrying with you into this great big world?
Owning it. Yeah, I know exactly what I want, and pretending that I don't is laughable. And so, like, owning it, like, I know what I want, and even if I'm denied that for whatever reason, that doesn't matter. Me knowing it matters.
Yes, I love that. Like, yes, 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 yes.
I love that. I think for me, it's similar. The word confidence came to mind, like just embodying confidence. But then I was like, what does embodying confidence look like? And it looks like so many ways. But I think something I've been really, really working on and trying to integrate into my life is trusting more, like self-trust, trust in others, but this time with a discernment as well. So, sometimes people don't deserve your trust.
Mm.
I used to be that person who was really big, open-hearted, and I still have a big open heart, don't worry, but like have learned that like the limits, the boundaries are necessary, the swinging door rather than like completely walled up or completely vulnerable and exposed. So yeah, trust and confidence.
Yes, yes, that balance, that like, and it's not even, it's like this dance between like, where you're open and where you're not, and being okay with that. Yes, I feel that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, I think for me, I'm feeling into like play, curiosity, exploration. Yeah, really wanting to play with the material that I'm learning that can come very like cerebral and like almost like, yeah, like esoteric, and like really bringing that more into this physical world and playing with art and different mediums to really begin to express. And maybe it's not even words, and maybe it's movement, something that people who learn and take in and really let information land differently can really access. So yeah, but for all of that to say is like I need to explore different versions of play to access that for myself. So
Yes, I've been hearing like playing with just life. Like,
mm-hmm.
and you're just a playful person at heart, so I feel that. Yeah, and
Yeah.
I'm taking away definitely gratitude for this conversation and for the spark. It just feels like affirming this conversation. I was just like, it's good. Like you good. Like you go in the right direction. Like, yeah. So I'm taking gratitude for the affirmation, gratitude for your wisdom, and yeah, that it's gonna be all right. Be all right. So thank you so much, y'all. I really appreciate you. Good combo, good combo, good combo, good combo. Well, y'all, that is it for season 4 of the Sunset Community Podcast. I was thinking about doing an episode with just me. And I was like, nah, I'm good here. I feel like I like where this season is. Short and sweet. Please go check out the folks that were featured on all of this season and past seasons. Follow these amazing folks. Please, 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 please. And a couple of folks from this episode have a little treat for you. So if you go on Goddexx's website and fill out the application to do work with them and let them know you will with the Sunsea Squad, you will receive a complimentary session. So go check that out. Also, by signing up for the Afroerotic Body newsletter with Joshua, you'll receive access to the Afroerotic Body magazine, which I am so excited for this magazine. Joshua showed me this collaborative art kind of booklet that they did right before we actually recorded this interview, and it was so dope. So I'm excited for what the magazine's gonna look like. So please go sign up for the Afroerotic Body newsletter. Also, if you are a queer BIPOC artist or writer or a queer ally of, the QT BIPOC fam, they are looking for artists and writers for the magazine. So you can apply on the Afroerotic Body website, and that is linked in the show notes. So yeah, I hope y'all enjoy the rest of this year. Do something fun, treat yourself, and I'll see you for season 5. Also, P.S., hit me up about what y'all want to listen to or who y'all want to see on season 5. I'm excited and my wheels are going. So, yeah. Much love to y'all, fellow Red and Wild ones. Bye.